days, we can mix things up a little bit with the reproductive industry and do what's called collaborative reproduction. So let's say I can say, I'm going to pay you $15,000 for one of your eggs, please, and I'd like to borrow some of your sperm, and I'm going to ask, I'll rent your womb for me, please. Actually, there are going to be two other people who are going to take the baby home. We'll call those the social parents. Let's have it be you two lovely people there, okay? 5 different folks with some claim, some connection that we would have called parenthood not too long ago. We have profoundly disaggregated the threads of parenthood, right? What used to come all together in 2 people, male, female, not anymore. And what should we think of this? Actually, there are a lot of reasons to think this is a really good progressive development. It gives people who used to not have the ability to have a child biologically related to them now that chance. People who are single and committedly so. Same-sex couples, couples who struggled with infertility, right? Expands the ability to form families with at least some biological connection to one or the other. Well, there are also some reasons to have some concerns. Now, some very enterprising folks have started to make embryos on spec. That is, take your egg, your sperm, because I think it'll really sell well, and create an embryo and freeze it, and then put that on the marketplace. So this, I want you to follow me here, is an embryo that was created outside of any context of kinship or family, right? Not even with an IVF, where in those places they don't agree to form an embryo unless there is somebody who's saying, I'm intending to try to use this and to make, to grow a baby and take responsibility for that baby when it comes out. Now, it's just off-the-shelf embryo. Here's another example, the globalization of collaborative reproduction. There's a fabulous documentary I highly recommend called Google Baby. And it follows the story of a gentleman, really lovely man, who with his partner had a child through surrogacy, were so moved by the experience, and it was such a good one, that he decided to become a broker of it, living in Israel, and realized the best way to do it was to get eggs from the United States, because there are a lot of egg retrieval centers in the United States, sperm from wherever the couple might be, and he services people all over the world, and then India for the gestating. So there are now clinics in India where young women, usually very poor women, interested in the amount of money involved, which in many cases can be several years' worth of what their usual yearly income would be. Okay. Become pregnant and live in the clinic in residence so that they get good nutrition and good medical care. Google Baby, they follow the story of one such clinic that's run by a female doctor. Fascinating how she regards her surrogates. And in some ways, we might worry about how she's treating them. And in other ways, there are scenes where she's defending the right of the woman to get the money and not her husband. Very interesting. But to me, one of the most interesting scenes in the movie was after one of the surrogates gives birth, and you see many of them, the head of the clinic getting a phone call, and she's answering it on her cell as she's cleaning up the woman who just gave birth. And it's the contracting couple who are from another country saying that their plans have gotten complicated. It's going to be hard for them to get there for 2 weeks, and could they just take care of the baby for a while? It's just, sure, it'll cost you a little extra, but happy to do it. Here's a final thing that's we might wonder about with these sorts of arrangements with surrogacy. And that really is the move from thinking of family law when it comes to dealing with children and parents to contract law. We do contracts because sometimes things can go wrong. But when things go wrong in this context, do contracts really work? So here's an example. Famous case in California. A couple asks a surrogate to carry an embryo that I think it was had the father's sperm, but a donor egg. Okay. They agreed with the lawyers, writing it all up, that if she happened to get pregnant with twins, if 2 embryos took, that she would do what's called selective reduction, that is, abort one of the embryos, because the contracting couple didn't want twins. Okay. She totally agreed, got the test results, it's twins. It took the contracting couple a little while to decide, and they kind of got back to her a little later than the agreement specified. And they said, you have to abort, it's right there, clause 32. And she said, this is a week later than we had agreed. I don't want to do this now. It increases the risk of miscarriage for the other fetus. No. And the contracting couple pulled out. We're not going to take those babies home. We had a contract. To which she then said, wait a second, I agreed to that contract to help make these babies on the assumption that you would take them home and care for them. I wanted the babies to have, what's going on now? Okay, California, the law states that the intentional parents, even if they've got no genetic relationship to the baby at all, the contracting couple, they are legally the parents. And the gestating woman has no claim to being a mother at all. Okay. Now they said, we'll find somebody to give the children to. We'll arrange for a good home for them. And she said, I don't trust you. I want to be the one to find a good home, because none of the people involved were now wanting to rear these twins. And so the court battle was just about who actually had standing to make the decision about the adoption. And by the way, that whole idea of contracting that you will have an abortion, totally non-enforceable, right? You have a constitutional right to do it or not to do it, and even if you put it down in plain writing, there's nobody that's going to say you now have to have an abortion, or that you may not. Thank you.